Hi, everyone. I'm back. Again, I'm Ritu. I'm with Public Counsel. I'm here with my colleague Cassidy, and we're here today to talk to you all about your rights when it comes to immigration enforcement activities. Um, so first, I wanted to just remind everybody here that all of us have certain rights under the Constitution, regardless of our immigration status. Our general rights include we all have the right to stay silent. We all have the right to ask immigration agents and law enforcement for identification. We all have the right to document or record what happens with these immigration agents. And we have the right to deny them entry into private spaces if these agents do not have a judicial warrant. So I just want to remind everybody that we all have these rights. Next slide, please. Um, Now I'm just going to quickly talk about these Know Your Rights cards. They're also known as red cards. I think a lot of you know about them. During this presentation, we will be sometimes referring to these cards. Just so everybody knows, these cards are available online on the Immigrant Legal Resource Center's website. You can print them out. These cards are the goal is to help people remember their rights and express their rights if there is immigration enforcement activities at somebody's workplace or home, for example. Um, the cards themselves list the rights and also have like a script that can be used. So if, for example, an immigration agent wants to talk to you, whether it's at your home or your workplace or if you're on the street, you don't have to talk to them. You have the right to stay silent, and you can simply show them the card, and the card has all your rights on it. Um, it's helpful to have these cards available if you're a childcare provider and you want families that are coming to you for childcare to know their rights. It's helpful for you to have these cards on hand and you can pass them out to the families that you care for. Um, Next slide, please. So now I want to talk about family preparedness. I know that there's a lot of questions regarding this issue. And while, of course, we hope that no family, is detained or deported, it is really important for families to have a plan for who's going to take care of their children in case, the parents are deported or there's some other similar type of emergency. So, in addition to creating a plan, which we're going to talk more about, it's important that, parents and their children memorize important phone numbers. So you want to have emergency contact numbers at hand. You want to, as a parent, make sure you're gathering, if your children have passports, you want to make sure all of that is stored away in a folder. You want to have any important immigration documents in that folder and you want to have instructions written down for your children to follow these instructions that they can follow in case you as a parent are detained and or deported. These instructions can say who the children can call if this type of emergency happens, what they're supposed to do, and it can tell them where all the important documents are. You also should have you as the parents, if you're undocumented and you should have on you in your wallet or in your pocket numbers, family members' numbers that you can call if an emergency happens, and the number of a legal aid attorney. There's a lot of throughout California, there's nonprofits that provide free legal services to immigrants. So you should have one of their phone numbers on a paper and have it on you in case something happens. Um, as I said, you should also have an emergency folder where you have your important immigration documents. You're going to have in there, passports if your children or you have a passport or other legal documents. You want to have in that folder birth certificates, any death certificates, any school records for your children, any important medical information. Um, and you know any like important list of relatives and friends and their phone numbers and any social security cards if you have them And as I said, passports and green cards, any other legal documents that show your legal status. So you want to have these kind of folders prepared in advance. And, all of us, when we enroll our children in childcare or schools, they ask us for a emergency contact list. And you may have, filled out that list years ago. You want to make sure it's updated. So if you have more people you want to add to that list, people that you trust that, the school could call in an emergency, make sure your list is updated with other people. Uh, and as Amanda put in the chat, we have a whole guide that talks about this. It's a family preparedness guide. And she put the link in the chat. It's in English and Spanish. So please review it when you have time. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just shows what the guide looks like, the cover. And then also it talks about some of the documents, which I mentioned, right? You want to have all these important documents in one place. I'm not going to go over it again because I just told you all what's in it, but you guys will have a copy of these slides and also a link to the guide so you can review it when you have time. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I wanted to, you know, get more into what to do, right? If the parents are detained and or deported. So when planning for these kind of situations, the first step for the parents is to figure out who could be their child's caregiver if something like this were to happen. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be, a neighbor, basically somebody that you trust. And if you have someone in mind, you want to talk to them about this, right? You want to tell them that you are concerned that, you might get detained or deported, and you're wondering if they would be willing to serve as your child's caregiver. And you want to talk to them about your expectations, what kind of responsibilities this would be putting on them, any duties that they would be, expected to carry out. And you also want to talk to them about any special needs your child has, like do they have any disabilities or medical conditions, any allergies? And any wishes you have, about your child's education, any other friends or relatives that could be contacted as well by this caregiver. So you want to have a, open and honest conversation with whoever you think is the right person to care for your children if there is an emergency. Um, and there's different types of caregivers. There's informal caregivers, which I'm going to talk about, and also formal caregivers. So with informal caregivers, basically, again, you want to talk to this person first. You want to make sure they are comfortable being the caregiver of your child if there's an emergency. You want to talk to also your family, right, and your children to make sure they're comfortable with this person being the caregiver. And if this caregiver person agrees and your family agrees, the informal way is you have this person fill out a form. It's called the caregiver's affidavit. And there's a copy of it in the guide that, Public Counsel, we put the link. So this form is something that the caregiver fills out and they sign it. It doesn't have to be notarized. It just says that, they are going to be the caregiver of the child, and that the form gives the caregiver the right to make some educational decisions for your child and some medical decisions for your child. And this is the form that the child care provider would also need from either you as the parent or the caregiver. So this form gives the child care provider the authority to, allow this new person to be the person in charge basically of the child and the person that the provider will communicate with. You also, if this caregiver has said that they will step up for this responsibility, you want to add them, right, to your authorized pickup list with the child care program and your emergency contact list. So that's the informal arrangement. It's like, just one page form that the caregiver fills out, doesn't have to be notarized, and it's provided to the child care provider. The more formal arrangement is what we call legal guardianship. And so this is a more formal procedure, and it does involve a judge and, a judge making an order saying that, this caregiver can be the legal guardian of your child. Um, Legal guardianship gives the caregiver power to make legal decisions about your child, including educational and medical decisions. Also gives this caregiver the right to decide where your child's gonna live and, if you, as the parent, will get to see your child. Um, so under this legal guardianship, the parent's rights are like basically put on hold until the guardianship is terminated. So this is definitely more formal, um, and it does involve the courts. Uh, Guardians have to be at least 18 years old, and they do not have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, but they must be willing to participate in possible investigations by DCFS and also by the Probate Investigations Office. So I know I imagine for some families that are undocumented, they may not feel comfortable with the legal guardianship route. So my guess is, more families might want to go the route of the informal caregiver, where you have, somebody filling out a caregiver authorization affidavit. Um, I definitely will, answer questions about this if you have them towards the end of the training. But also in general, in addition to choosing a caregiver, talking to your family, you also want to talk to your children, about this possible scenario. I know it's very, very difficult, and um, I think at some point, there's going to be an offering to you all, like some type of training on how to talk to children about these things. But you want to make sure your children understand that if an emergency occurs and for some reason, you can't pick them up from childcare or school, this is what's going to happen. You don't want it to come as a surprise and they don't know what to do and they don't know what's going to happen. Um, okay, next slide, please. So, that was family preparedness. Now we're going to talk about immigration enforcement. Okay. So, um, I know some of you have interacted with immigration agents before and some have not. So I thought it was important for you to see what they look like, right? So in this webinar, we're often going to say ICE. We're going to call immigration enforcement agents ICE. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's like the name of the agency. It's the agency you hear about the most. But there are also a few more agencies that carry out immigration activities. Um, all of the agencies that carry out immigration activities, they're under the big department. It's called U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS. And the other agency, in addition to ICE, that does some immigration enforcement is called Homeland Security's Investigations, HSI. So when you see these agents, they might have a jacket or some, clothing that says ICE. It could say HSI. HSI is the department that oversees workplace enforcement operations, and they also, investigate human trafficking, for example. And then sometimes we also see customs. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, we are going to do a role playing exercise. Let me just finish this conversation and I'll go back to the role playing. I'm so sorry. So, the other agency that you may see is called Customs and Border Patrol. It stands for their little name is CBP. These are the folks that enforce immigration laws at points of entry and airports and within 100 miles of the border. So just real quick, these folks can, as these pictures show, it can say police, it can say ICE, it can say HSI, it can say CBP, and sometimes they also show up in regular clothes and it doesn't say anything. So that's why it's important if someone comes to your house or your workplace, you have to ask them, which agency are you with? I'm asking that you identify yourself. Okay, so sorry. So on the family preparedness, we want to do a role-playing exercise. where you all can see like a parent talking to a childcare provider about this issue.